Minutes and talk about how and why to keep a positive mindset when you're discouraged about your progress. And I wanted to talk about this because I took the whole week off for fall break to be home with my kids. But the whole time I was home, I was thinking about how I should be doing this, or I could be doing that, or I'm getting behind. All of things which are not true. My whole intention was to take the week off and be home with my kids and enjoy them, right? Which is part of my business. A big part of my vision is walking away from corporate healthcare to find myself again and to recenter my priorities around my family, my relationships, my marriage, myself, taking care of myself. And when I should myself and say I should be doing this or I should be here by now, I'm not honoring that commitment. So I'm discouraged all week long, all fall break. I'm feeling discouraged and like I'm getting behind, right? And I'm just getting farther and farther behind. And I thought about these coaching calls that I'm on. You guys know I have many coaches and coaches for different things, and I've done several different coaching programs, and they all have something in common. When you get on your weekly coaching call, the first thing, and I even have an accountability partner now who I'm meeting with, and we do this as well. And I'll share a little secret and spill my guts. I hate it. I hate this. When we get on the call, the first thing we do is wins. Let's talk about our wins for the week. What are your wins for the last week? And every time I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to think of a win and I'm not winning right now. And I feel like I'm not where I'm supposed to be. And I didn't do anything I wanted to do last week. And I'm just thinking negative, negative, negative. Well, the business mastermind I went to in Philadelphia last month, instead of saying, what are your wins? We were asked, what's going right? And we had to talk about what's going right for at least 15 to 30 seconds before we could lead into anything negative. So it's easy to say, well, what's going right now is I have a lot of leads, but I don't have the conversions I want, right? So going straight from negative right into, or straight from positive right into negative. There, I just left. I was on positive for 1 second. And then I used the B word, but, and I completely crossed out the whole half of that sentence. I'm getting a lot of leads. That's going right. I'm making a lot of new connections. That's going right. I'm getting a lot of good feedback. I'm learning a lot. That's going right. I'm starting to get my messaging and my services and my offerings, what I'm going to do as my business, much clearer. It's called a core or unique positioning statement, where you refine what your messaging is, right? So that's a win. So I'm always frustrated by having to think of these wins, but the purpose is in coming up with wins is that we recognize that things are going well. We recognize we are making progress. So maybe I'm not where I'm supposed to be. Maybe all of last week was a complete wash, but I'm still making progress. I'm still moving in the right direction. It is so important to recognize the progress, because if you don't, you'll just always feel like you're behind and eventually just give up because you feel like you're not getting where you're supposed to be. Recognizing the wins or keeping track in your mind, keeping in front of your mind what's going right. What's going right? What's going well right now? What's happening that's good? Where am I seeing results? Where am I seeing positive traction? Because just because we haven't arrived at the end result of where our business should be or where we really want it to be, doesn't mean that we're not making positive movement. And it can take years sometimes to get from A to even B, right? Much less A to Z. Depending on your mindset and where you're at with what you're doing in your business, it could take you a year to get to the point where you're ready to put yourself out there, right? I thought about a business. I even planned businesses for years, 10 years. I had all my courses in a course platform for a year and never shared it with anyone. Okay. So if we don't keep track of the progress we make, it's very easy to stay discouraged with ourselves, to keep believing that we're not making progress when we really are. So even if your wins or what's going right is very small, or maybe it's not even business related at all. When I look at last week and I say, last week wasn't good enough, it was a wash. I did nothing, I accomplished nothing. I stayed home with my kids all fall break. If you don't think there's a win in there, you're wrong. I would not have been able to take off fall break from any of my executive jobs. That would have been my vacation, right? So it's a huge win for me to be able to step away from my business for a whole week while my kids are out of school. It's a huge win to be able to not worry about feeling like I should be performing. Performance mindset has been a big issue for me. I don't know about you, but feeling like I'm not doing enough, feeling like I should be checking off boxes. So I've made a lot of progress in those areas, and it's very important to keep those wins, to keep that progress. I would write it down. We can start a progress board, right? Let's start a progress board, and every week or as it happens, let's start writing down our wins. Get a win journal. One of my writers groups that I'm in, for authors, she has a Sprouts journal. I think she even designed one. She has a Sprouts journal, and those sprouts are just little teeny tiny sprigs of green that pop out of the ground and encourage you and say, look, growth is happening. Good things are happening here. Look at the progress this little bean made. It's now a plant, right? It's not producing anything, and it's not huge, and it's, not making millions, but it's there, right? So acknowledging the fact that something came that wasn't there before is really important when you get discouraged. If I went back and looked at last year, all the things that I've done, speaking at 2 national conferences and another one coming up this month, self-publishing 2 books, the contracts that I've had, the forward motion. I was afraid to do video as of last year. I did not do video, right? And here I am going live a couple times a week, getting to talk to nurses, getting to encourage people. Look back as far as it takes to find some progress that you've made, and then start keeping track of even the smallest things. And if you don't like calling them wins, like I don't like calling them wins, let's ask ourselves at least once a week, if not more often, what is going right? Because as soon as we get in the positive mindset to see the progress we're making, we can keep moving forward. We feel like we have momentum, right? Instead of just stalling. If you are bathing in the negative and the lack of not enough, not having enough, not doing enough, not seeing enough progress, that is going to stall you. We've got to keep that forward motion, and we can do that by recognizing how far we've come, not just in business. If you feel like you really haven't made any progress in business, deciding that you want to be in business is enough of what's going right to be a win. Or deciding what service you want to offer, or learning more about what you want to do, or learning just the revelation that you want to work for yourself, and that your current situation isn't really your definition of success anymore, is enough for a win. It's enough to recognize I have a new mindset. I have a new thought that I've never had before, a new realization about myself and my situation that I have never had. That's growth. That is positive movement. So I hope this encouraged you today. I'd love to hear your comments. Do you keep track of wins? Do you hate keeping track of wins? Are you willing to do some what's going right questions with me?